What up, people? It is your boy, Mr. Noland. Alright, guys, I'm going to start by going over test review homework 1.1b. That way you have something to study tonight for your test tomorrow. Now, if you look at number 1, it says convert the following table of fractions to decimals. So these two fractions, we're going to convert to decimals. And then it says if you have decimals, what you do here, convert these two to fractions. So let's start with January. Convert the fraction to a decimal. The way you convert a fraction to a decimal is top in, bottom out. So there's my little divide. The top number goes inside. The bottom number goes outside. Now it's just basic dividing. Can 16 go into 7? No, it cannot. So add your decimal, add a 0. 16 can go into 70. Let's see, 16, 32, 48, 64. Goes in there 4 times. Notice I have a remainder. Since I have a remainder, add a 0 behind it. Now 16 can go into 60, 16, 32, 48. 3 times. Again, notice I have a remainder, add a 0 behind it. 16 into 120, 16, 32, 48, 64, 80, 96, 112. 7 fingers. Again, I have a remainder, add a 0 behind it. 16, 32, 48, 64, 80. So 16 can go into 80 5 times. Notice I have no remainder. You're done. That's your answer. Okay, let's do February. Again, top in, bottom out. So here's my little divide. The top number goes inside. The bottom number goes outside. Can 5 go into 9? Yes, it can, 1 time. Can 5 go into 4? No, it cannot. So put your decimal up here and add your 0 behind the 4. Can 5 go into 40? Yes, it can, 8 times. Notice there's no remainder. That's your answer. You are done. Okay, so we just did 2 conversions, we just did 2 problems converting fractions to decimals. Now we're going to convert this decimal to a fraction. Notice on this one I have a whole number. So I'm going to put the whole number off to the side. What number is now given? 75. What's the place value of the last digit? So what's the place value of the 5? That is the hundredths position. Well, look at that. You just converted the decimal to a fraction. Now you just have to simplify it. What number goes into both 75 and 100 evenly? Well, that would be 25. So my whole number stays there. It takes 3/4 to give you 75 cents, and it takes you 4/4 to give you $1. And there you go. There's your there's your decimal to fraction, and your fraction is now simplified. Now let's look at April. Do I have a whole number? No, I do not. So what number is given? 375 is given. What is the place value of the last digit, which is the 5? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Well, look at that. You just went from a decimal to a fraction. Now, some of y'all struggle with simplifying. If you notice, it ends in a 5 and a 0. So to simplify, you could divide both by 5. But I see a bigger number. 25 goes into both of them. Sorry about that. My throat's getting a little dry. All right. How many quarters does it take to give you $3? Well, there's 4 quarters in $1. So there's 8 quarters in $2. 12 quarters makes $3. Okay? And then how many quarters does it take to give you 75 cents? Well, 3. So if you have 12 quarters in one pocket and 3 quarters in another pocket, that means you have 15 quarters. How many quarters to give you $1? You're going to say 4. But then I still have that extra 0. Put it back there. I'm still not done because 15 over 40 can still be simplified. Notice it ends in a 5 and a 0, so they are both divisible by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 40 divided by 5 is 8. And there's your answer for that one. Okay. I'm going to skip 2 and 3 for right now. I'm going to go to number 4. Whole numbers. Those are all your counting numbers. 1, 2, 3, 20, 50, 100, 1,000, 5,000, 1,000,000. But you also have to include the number 0. Can you have a fraction as a whole number? The answer is yes, as long as the fraction simplifies to a whole number. So let's start by filling in our whole numbers. Is 2/6 a whole number? No. Is 0 a whole number? Yes. Is -7 a whole number? No, because there's a negative. 6 3/7. Well, that fraction can't simplify to a whole number. Is 9 a whole number? Yes. What is 5 divided by 1? Well, that's 5, which is a whole number. This is a decimal, and this is a negative, so those are not whole numbers. An integer is a negative whole number. For example, -1, -2, -3, -4, -20, -1,000, -5,000, -1,000,000. Can you have a fraction that's an integer? Again, if the fraction can simplify to a negative whole number, then yes, it can be an integer. Can 2/6 simplify to a negative whole number? No. Is -7 a negative whole number? Yes, it is. So that's now an integer. 6 3/7, can that simplify to a negative whole number? No. I have a decimal. That's no good. What is 6 divided by 3? Well, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Just put the negative in front of it. So this is -2. Oh, that's a negative whole number, so that's an integer. Okay, your rational numbers are your fractions that cannot simplify to a whole number, and it's also your decimals. 2/6 does not simplify to a whole number. That's a rational number. 6 3/7, that's a mixed fraction. That does not simplify to a whole number. It's rational. There's my decimal. That is a rational number. Now, guys, I think the first 5 or 6 questions from your test are pretty much this. Can you put the numbers where they belong appropriately? Okay. On the back side, look at that. We get some more practice. Okay. The small circle is your whole numbers. The middle circle are your integers. The big one is your rational numbers. Let's start with your whole numbers. No, that's a decimal. 30 is a whole number. That's a negative and a decimal. That's a negative. 0 is a whole number. Okay, your integers are your negative whole numbers. That's a decimal, so that's a no. Again, decimal, so no. Negative 5 divided by 1 is negative 5. That's an integer. 12 over 11 cannot simplify to a whole number. Decimal, rational number. Decimal, it's a rational number. Fraction that cannot simplify to a whole number is a rational number. Okay. Four students were reading the same novel. Charles had to read 4/10 of the novel. Monica had to read 6/10 of the novel. James had to read 2/3 of the novel. And Kate had read 5/8 of the novel. Write the amounts of the novel the students read in descending order. So descending is like when a plane is going to land. It's going from the greatest to least. Okay, notice we have a decimal, we have a decimal, we have a fraction, we have a fraction. Convert the two fractions into decimals. How do you convert a fraction into a decimal like we did on the front? Top in, bottom out. Can 3 go into 2? No, it cannot. Add your decimal, add a 0. Can 3 go into 20? Yes, it can, 6 times. Now notice, this number repeats. That's why I'm circling it. It's repeating. That means this number up here is going to continue repeating forever and ever. It's going to be 0.66666 forever and ever. So instead of writing that forever and ever, I'm going to put a line over it. That bar represents it's going to go on forever and ever. 5/8. Again, top in, bottom out. Can 8 go into 5? No, it cannot. Decimal, 0. Can 8 go into 50? Yes, it can, 6 times. Since I have a remainder, add a 0. 8 can go into 20 2 times. Again, since I have a remainder, add a 0. 8 can go into 40 5 times. No remainder, so that's done. Now if you notice, this decimal goes all the way to the thousandths unit. So I'm going to convert all of my decimals into the thousandths unit. Tenths, so I'm going with my 0.4. This is the tenths. Just add a 0 behind it. It doesn't hurt it. Hundredths, thousandths. The 0.6. Again, add a 0 behind it. It doesn't hurt it. There's the hundredths place value. There's the thousandths place value. 0.625. And now what about this bar, the one that has the bar over it? That's 0.6666 forever and ever. But I'm just going to stop it right there at the thousandths. The reason I'm giving them all to the thousandths, I can now compare my decimals. It wants me to go with the largest decimal to the smallest one. So let's look at this. The largest decimal. Notice the whole numbers are all the same. Okay? Well, look at your tenths value. 6, 6, 6, 4. The 4 is the smallest one out of all of them. So this is fourth place. Okay, again, we're putting them in order from greatest to least. That's my least. Okay, so these ones all have the same tenths. Let's move on to the hundredths. Well, the biggest hundredths is this one. So that's first place. That's my biggest. And then look, this is my second biggest based on place value. This is my third biggest based on place value. So the answer we're looking for is the 0.6 repeating, which is 2/3. The 0.625 was the other fraction, 5/8. Then the decimal 0.6, followed by 0.4. Okay, guys, on your test, you're going to have to convert fractions to decimals and compare in order, just like we did here. Okay. Which of the following numbers is greater than 0.35 but less than 3/5? Turn that fraction into a decimal. Top in, bottom out. 5 cannot go into 3, but 5 can go into 30 6 times. So I'm going to use this in terms of money. I need a number that is bigger than 35 cents, but less than 60 cents. So A is about 29.5 cents. Is 29.5 cents bigger than 35 cents? No. Out. Is 4 cents bigger than 35 cents? No. Out. Is 85 cents bigger than 35 cents? Yes, it is. Is 85 cents less than 60 cents? No. Gone. Is 48.5 cents bigger than 35 cents? Yes. Is 48.5 cents less than 60 cents? Yes. D is your answer. Now I'm going to go back to the front ones for numbers 2 and 3. I'm just going to give you the answers. Turn the fractions into decimals, top in, bottom out. I showed some examples on the front and the back of how to convert fractions to decimals. Okay. Now notice it says to put the numbers in ascending order. It's like when a plane takes off. Ascending means least to greatest. Okay. Since we're dealing with negative numbers, the number furthest away from 0 is your smallest number. Okay. So I want you to think about this. Which one is closer to 0? Owing someone 75 cents or owing someone 20 cents? Well, owing someone 20 cents is greater or closest to 0. That means that's the largest number. So this is an order in ascending order, least to greatest. Now this one, they are already in decimal form. Same thing. We want them in ascending order, least to greatest. Since they're negatives, we need the number furthest away from 0 to go first. Okay, there they are. Now guys, I really hope you watch this video, because looking around all the classes, Miss Likes, Miss Joseph, Miss Alvarez, myself, this test is going to be a struggle. Effort-wise, to me personally, it seems like this 6th grade group would rather talk than focus on their work. And they're going to be in for a real surprise when parents get progress reports on Friday. And oh my God, why is my kid failing? Well guys, if you stop talking and pay attention and give the effort, we wouldn't have this issue. Priorities, guys. There's a time and a place to talk. There's also a time and a place to work. When you're in class, you need to start working. We're not in elementary anymore. We're not here to hold your hands. You're 6 years away from being out on your own. You have to start to grow up and start to figure this out, guys. Again, this test is your first test of the year. It's going to count as a lot. I highly recommend watching this video and doing some practice problems. Alright guys, have a great day. Bye.